Live. Good morning, students. You have been waiting. I got some emergency, and that's the reason that I have come a little late today. So, dear, yes, all those who are present, do acknowledge. Now, you remember yesterday I discussed with you the questions of corollary, logical corollary, and we discussed the basics of corollary, how to identify the answer and how to evaluate the given options. So I told you that in logical questions, we have to go in a certain, in a very methodical manner, and this manner will be like the very first step is that you must know that what that question means. The given question, like corollary, if asked, then in simple terms, what do you understand by corollary? Only then you can decide that what kind of information should be there in the correct answer. And then you go for the second step, that is the proper analysis of the passage to extract out that information. Third element, I told you that you must know the traits of the options, the characteristics of options, the options that are correct and the options that are wrong. So you know that the correct option will, for a corollary, will be always based upon the main point or the theory told by the author in the paragraph. So your challenge is to in fact identify the author's idea correctly, and the author, as I said yesterday, that author might have given his idea in two different forms, either in an explicit manner, directly, openly he might have said, or second, he might have said this in an implied manner. So both ways you should be capable of identifying that what by and large the author is trying to establish. And for that, I told you a kind of an analogy that when you look at the main root of a plant, and you also see that from that main root, the secondary and tertiary level roots also shoot out. So you should never mistake a main root, a secondary or tertiary level root as a main root. The same goes here, that you should be able to identify the correct point, the main point that author is saying, and the correct option will always be based on that. We did some, I think 10 questions we solved based on corollary, and you must have gained confidence. Most of you got majority of the questions correct. Even some students got all answers correct. So the corollary is done. And let me, apart from this topic, let me just give this piece of advice to you, that some students who prepare for CSAT, at times they are unable to, pace themselves along with the class. They rather plan for some other day, they will sit and they will then watch the video, or maybe they will do the things on their own. I suppose that this is the last time, and this is the best time to go ahead with the classroom pace. And whatever topic that I have discussed in the classroom, you should try to complete that along with the class. And then of course the practice material, and then the your mock test, they will only cementize your learning. So don't postpone this thing that RC will do some other day, and then like nowadays you may be engaged with some other things. So whatever topic is being given, is being discussed, you must work on that and then give it a complete closing touch. Second question I will pick up now, and in this sheet the corollary questions that you solve, and then the second question is implication, right? So everybody knows the sheet. This is CR based miscellaneous questions. It's critical reasoning based questions, miscellaneous ones, and you have the material with you. So now first of all, this question, implication. Implication is, this question has been asked in CSAT like corollary. Every year, 1 or 2 questions of implications have been asked. So the very first step that you must know that what kind of information we require for right? So what kind of information we need for an implication? The very first thing, that implication, everybody knows that implication has a very in-depth meaning. It means that you have the policy and its implications. Something you say and you want to see its implication. Some action has been taken and what are the implications. So implications are those impacts or effects or those conclusive points on which you can arrive. So so the definition is must be clear to most of you. Implication is those implications are you know the impacts or effects of something. So you have said some word, you have said a sentence, and what is the implication of that on someone else? A certain action has been taken and the implication of that. So when you solve a CSAT passage and the question is implication, in the passage you will see that the author will raise an issue. Here in the passage the author has raised an issue, or maybe he has discussed about a certain problem related to any sector, economy, political, social issue. So any issue or any problem that has been described in the passage, you just read that, and when they have asked you the question of implication to find the answers, you should just do you are just supposed to, if the implication is asked, you are only supposed to identify the correct answers on the basis of two parameters, right? Just two parameters, two standard will be there. Number one, if you come across that an option is giving you the solution to the problem described here, that will be the correct implication. In case you find that the given options, they talk about the impact or effect of this problem or solution on something else, that is also correct, right? So the question of implication when asked, either UPSC will give you single options like A, B, C, D are written, right, and you have to choose one of them, or second part is that they will either write multiple statement and they will ask you that which are the valid implications. So 4-5 implications are written, statements are written, and you are supposed to identify the valid ones, or they have just written the single options. So whether it is like single options A, B, C, D, or it is multi statements, in either of the cases you have to just identify that any statement that works as a solution to the given problem or a solution to the given issue or challenge should be chosen, right? And you, as a student of GS, as a student of CSE, it is not difficult for you to establish the correlation between the two, that this is the problem described and this makes a valid or logical sense as a solution. So the solution should of course, it should not be just a fancy solution. It should be a practical, it should be a kind of viable and feasible solution. So solution, number one. And number two is impact or effect. So if any statement is in this category of impact or effect of this given issue or problem, then again you are going to select it. Now statements or options falling out of the ambit of the two, neither they are solution nor they are impact or effect, then you are going to dismiss them. Fine. So this analysis part is clear, that how will you analyze the correct answer and the passage. The passage you will identify that issue or problem described and then choose the given options on the basis of two parameters. Either they should be a solution or they should be an impact or effect. Then they should be taken in. Is that clear? Any doubts? Now we should go to the practice questions. Major part in CSAT is the practice. So in implication section, I first show you a question of multi-statements. This passage on your screen was asked in the year 2021. Yes, and we will solve it together. This is passage number 3. So the question is, which of the following statements best reflect the rational, plausible and practical implications that can be derived from the passage given above? Since these words are given, so you have to be careful that the given solution should be practical as well. should be viable as well. And it will not be difficult for a CSE student to identify that what a practical or viable solution should look like. I just cite an example. Suppose the paragraph talks about the water problem, that drinking water sources are shrinking all over the world. Suppose the passage is around that, the story has been woven, and then implication has been asked. And one of the statements says that it's not a big problem to arrange drinking water for the people because plenty of water is available in oceans and sea. So apparently it looks like a solution. We also know that there is a technology through which we can actually convert it into a potable drinking water. However, the technology is prohibitively expensive, so economically it's not viable to go for this. So of course this solution is only a fancy solution, not a practical solution, because when we know that the world, there are so many people who are not that high income group. So of course when this bottle, 1 liter bottle is available for rupees 20, and then if you go for this technology, then the same bottle, who knows, that may be for more than 500 rupees. So obviously how will it solve the problem, right? So I just want to say that go for those plausible, practical, and valid solutions, and similarly impacts or effects. Let's focus now on this story. All such students who might have missed the first class, where I emphasize that you should always read for the structure of the passage. So let's focus on the structure of this passage. Author says, in the immediate future, we will see the increasing commodification of technologies. Then after that, there is a hyphen. It means the author has started giving you the examples. So what we will see in near future? The increasing commodification of technology, just like artificial intelligence and robotics, many 3D manufacturing, custom-made biological and pharmaceutical products, lethal autonomous new weapons, and driverless cars. So these are the examples. A reader must always notice that what is the functional role of different sentences. You're not just supposed to, read the words without identifying that what is the cohesion or correlation among the different sentences. So the first line was just telling you the idea, and then the second line is dedicated, second and third line, to the example, right? So, but what the author wants to convey, the objective of reading is clear, it has been shared to you. I'm actually revising those points that I discussed in the very first class, because it is very important for all students of RC to know the basics, to understand the very purpose of reading, that we read to actually find out what the author wants to convey. That is the objective of the reading, right? We are not just reading here to know about that how many words we know or we don't know, or we should just be able to cover this whole paragraph in record time. We should just identify what the author wants to convey. So it is not clear whether he just wants to tell us about the increasing commodification of technology or something else, right? This will be clear when we read the next sentence. So author says this will pose conundrums. Okay, this is what he wants to convey. So he has revealed his purpose, this objective is there, that this increasing commodification of technology will pose conundrums. Now conundrums are those complex situations, difficult questions that are bound to create confusion, bound to create complexity. तो ऐसी चीज़ जो परेशानी खड़ी करेगी, संदेह पैदा करेगी या दिक्कत खड़ी करेगी, confusion होगा, जिसमें ऐसे सवाल पैदा करेगी, तो उसको कहते हैं conundrums. So this will pose conundrums. This author's idea is clear. Now he will explain that. He says, the moral question of how driverless car will decide between hitting a jaywalker and swerving and damaging the car has often been debated. Swerve means to deviate. Now he has gone into elaboration. So this part is the elaboration. Since he has said elaboration or justification, since he has said it will pose conundrums, challenges, complex situations, how these challenges or conundrums will be there, what kind of conundrums will be there. So he is going into the elaboration or justification of this idea. So he has taken up driverless car as an example. So various issues that needs to be addressed, he mentions. He says the answer is both simple, save the human life, and complex. Yes, Saving the human life, the answer is simple, but it is also complex at the same time. How complex? At which angle should the car swerve, deviate? Just enough to save the jaywalker or more than enough? If the driverless car is in Dublin, Dublin, you all know, capital of Ireland. So if the driverless car is in Dublin, who would take the decision, right? The Irish government or the car's original code writer in California or a software programmer in Hyderabad. So three different nations are involved, right? So software programmer in Hyderabad to whom maintenance is outsourced. If different nation, then author makes a question mark. So he wants the answers of these questions. He says if different national jurisdictions have different fine print on prioritizing a human life, how will it affect insurance and investment decisions, including transnational ones? Of course, very valid issues. So that's why he has called this a conundrum. See how these issues will be addressed and whose prerogative it would be. The car is there in Ireland, but the car original software was developed in California, the USA, whereas the maintenance is being done by a software programmer based out of India, Hyderabad. So and these countries may have different fine print, of jurisdictions. So how will it be decided, right? So you understood the passage. The passage is started with that, keep this thing, increasing commodification of technology, we will see in near future. But it is going to create problem. What kind of problem will be there, he has explained, right? So that is the structure. Now the issue or the problem is clear to you. We will go to the 5 statements. The first one says too much globalization is not in the best interest of any country. Too much globalization is not in the best interest of any country. Do understand that neither it is in the form of the solution nor it is the impact. And I told you that you have to choose the correct answer on the basis of just two parameters. Either it should be solution or it should be the effect. It is in fact neither. And another illogical point you notice in this one, that author has not become judgmental to curse or to say that we need to curtail the globalization. He's merely telling us that it will lead to conundrums, some problems, and these problems needs to be addressed. Rather, does not say that we should just hit at the very genesis of this problem, any globalization, because they are the byproduct of that. ये उसका कहने का मतलब नहीं है. तो इतना सारा globalization, too much globalization is not in the best interest of any country is not an implication, because author has not said that globalization is not good for any country. He is merely describing a certain issue related to the modern commodification of technology. However, this problem can be answered and should be addressed. That's what his objective is, rather than globalization is not good for any country. So this kind of blanket generalization are commonly written by UPSC examiner, and I must tell you that if you come across any, I'm just digressing from the topic. This is the topic that we are discussing, but I am giving you another point that keep in mind, that if case paragraph talks about any problem or situation where you can relate it, yes, because of globalization, because of economic liberalization, this problem might have arisen. However, it does not give you sufficient data to say that globalization should be cut down. Globalization should not have does not have any beneficial outcome for any country or for developing country. So never relate it with globalization unless the author has said something tantamount to it, equal to it. I hope it's clear to you. So it is a common practice of the examiner that he takes a cue from the paragraph and then he makes it very generalized and say that globalization is not good for any country, not good for developing or poor country. So globalization is a huge canvas. They are only talking about in the paragraph a small dot on that canvas, and so that because of that the whole canvas, the whole screen should not be brought down. So we don't get sufficient data unless author says something equivalent to globalization. We should never choose such statements. अब सेकेंड पे आइए, कुछ लोगों ने आंसर भी निकाल दिया. Yes, I know that you can find the answer easily because the option combination is there, but I just want to instill confidence in you so that you can evaluate. Second statements, modern technologies are increasingly blurring the economic borders. Yes, increasingly blurring the economic borders, as the case of Ireland, then USA and India, all involved. And then this is valid statement. But can you tell me whether it's a solution or an impact? So the answer is that it is an impact, not a solution. Hence it is valid. Second is valid. Third, innovation and capital have impinged on the domain of the state. Impinged means something that has an effect on something else, generally a negative effect. So yes, innovation and capital have impinged on the domain of the state, as shown in through the example of the driverless car. And it is again, third one is again an impact. Fourth one, author says public policy of every country should focus on developing its own supply chains. It means public policy of every country should not allow other countries to to import their supply, their machines, their cars to the other country, which is again going against globalization. Author has not become judgmental to say that this kind of thing should be stopped. He's only saying that these issues should be addressed. So fourth is neither a solution nor an impact. And fifth one says geopolitics will have to reconcile to many ambiguities and uncertainties. Ambiguities, lack of clarity, uncertainty you already know. Geopolitics, needless to mention, everybody is aware of. Reconcile is something when you try to adjust, when you try to make friends again, so collaborate. That is reconcile here. So here to adjustment it talks about. So geopolitics will have to reconcile to many ambiguities and uncertainties. Yes, as the author says, that who will decide whether the car should just, okay, it is simple, at the same time it is complex, author has said. The question is that what to be done. So save the life is simple answer, whereas how to save it, then investments and the insurance, all these issues are so related, where the different countries might have different jurisdictions on the same issue. So geopolitics will certainly be affected. So this option fifth is also correct. However, the fifth is here the examiner is giving you a solution, will have to reconcile. So this is a solution. So second is an impact, third is an impact, and fifth is a solution. Your answer is C. So impact and solution, these are the two criteria, and you have to just decide on the correct answer on the basis of these. All right, so I am going to now give you more questions of implication. You are supposed to do it correctly. I know that option combinations help you in the exams, they will certainly help you and it saves your time. However, I want each of you to not look at the option combination as of now for the classroom practice, and on your own you decide whether the given statement is a solution or is an impact, right? And you choose it. If you look at the option combination, they may sometimes ease out your job, but your job should be to identify and gain confidence. So I give you passage number 4. I want none of you to look at the option combination, just look at the options independently, statements, and then decide your answer and then look at the option combination. So passage 4 you are supposed to do. Ask in 2020. Time is 2 minutes. All right. The answer, yes. Very good. So it is the first one, interlinking of rivers should be undertaken as the problem has been described, so it works as a solution. Second, a network of dams and canals should be built across the country for proper distribution of water. Again, a solution, as the author has mentioned that somewhere we have droughts, whereas we have floods. So both extreme cases are mentioned here. So first and second makes sense. Third one says, well, farmers should be provided easy loans for digging bore wells. The para does not talk about the underground water, and no situation that there is they should be provided easy loans or something. The rain is water is being mentioned there. And so fourth, usage of water for agriculture should be regulated by law. From the para, we don't know whether it is already being regulated by law or not. So either it is neither solution nor impact. So all of you have got the correct answer. Fifth is totally illogical. Distribution of river water among regions should be regulated by the union government. In fact, about the distribution of river water, is there any issue with that? Why the union government should be there, or the state government should only manage that? No issues related to that has been mentioned. So very, correct. A is the right answer. Fine. So you have picked up, and I suppose you will get the answers correct for passage number 1 and 2 as well. So just go for passage number 1. Both are solution. Yes, Biswajit. Passage number 1. Now the second passage, the Arctic's vast reserves. Sure. All right, so within time you have done it, passage 1 and 2. I give you the answers and then I will take you to the third one. So the answer for the passage 1, it should be option A. The option A. Right? So passage 1A, and I explained why this happy word is a dream of science. In the last part, author says, science, whatever unpleasant consequences it may have, by the way, is in its very nature a liberator. So the very nature of science is, it is a liberator, and it liberates against what the previous sentence author has mentioned. It opens up as nothing else can the vision of a possible happy world, a world without poverty, without war, with little illness. So it liberates you, from poverty and war and illness. The very nature, the instincts of science is that it's a liberator. Now, this B option is wrong because it says science only can build a happy world, but it is also the only major threat. In the very first line, author says scientific knowledge has its dangers, but so has every great thing. It means so has every great thing means other great things also have their dangers, right? So science is not alone. So B is just going against that. C option says a happy world is not possible without science. Now look at the second sentence. Author says over and beyond the dangers with which it threatens the present, it opens up as nothing else can the vision of a possible happy world. Now be careful of the words chosen, written by the author. He says that it opens up as nothing else can the vision of a possible happy world. So happy world, author is not taking any guarantee. It's like just saying a vision of a happy possible happy world. So and it only opens up the vision, right? Whereas the C statement says a happy world is not possible without science. So we don't have this data for this option, because it becomes very certain happy world is not possible. So here the word possible is used in a different perspective. The word possible is talking about that it opens up the vision, like, so opening the vision of a possible happy world, right? That is possible in future. However, a happy world is not possible without science. We don't have this data. So option A happy world is dream of science. It comes from that the very nature of science is that it liberates humankind. So option A was the correct answer. Here the last option D, uh, the last option D was also weak option. A happy world is not at all possible with or without science. Wrong. Passage number 2, and the correct answer should be the Arctic region. The Arctic region has more. No, B option it should be. Melting of summer ice in the Arctic leads to changes in the geopolitics. Yes. And it comes from, it is the impact or effect, and it comes from the last sentence. Yes, Anis. I'll come to that. You see, it is the first line where author tells you that the author is talking about a particular region, the Arctic region, right? And after that, it mentions that in the last sentence, the author mentions the distinct possibility of ice-free summer has prompted countries with Arctic coastline. Such countries that have Arctic coastline, it means the neighboring countries to Arctic line, to Arctic region, to scramble for great chunks of the melting ocean. If they scramble for, it means they strive hard for a bigger chunk, then obviously it is bound to affect the geopolitics of these countries. And from that region, this option A is incorrect because it says India can have territorial claims, whereas the original paragraph talks about the countries with Arctic coastline. It means the neighboring countries. So this much of geography you can apply here, and option A is wrong, right? So C option says the Arctic region will solve the world's future problems of resources crunch. We don't know how much is in store in the Arctic region, whether it will be sufficient to solve the problem of the world, the need of the world for resources. Though the world has been used here in this second last line, but it in a different perspective. Author says, when he talks about the treaty that actually this Arctic region is not safeguarded by any treaty like Antarctica, he mentions there the Cold War ends not subject to territorial claims by any country. There is no legal regime protecting the Arctic from industrialization, especially at a time when the world craves for more and more resources, especially at a time when the world craves. However, this does not give you the clear picture whether the Arctic region and the resources found there will be sufficient to sort out the need of the entire world. So option C is again wrong. Last option say the Arctic region has more resources than Antarctica. In fact, no comparison has been done. So, and it is again neither the solution nor the impact. So option B was correct answer, and it is because it talks about the impact. Implication, as I gave you this, that implication also means the meaning. Suppose you have said a sentence, Anish, and somebody asks you that what is the implication of your statement. It means what is the immediate meaning or the far-reaching meaning of that statement. Here, 4 statements were written in the passage number 1. It asks you about the important implication. So we are supposed to find out that any statement which is based on the passage and which is like a logical and valid meaning taken from the passage. Only option A, happy world is a dream of science, right? So you can say it's like an effect of what the author has told you about science. Now the last question as a test. In the practice sheet 2, yesterday I gave you some questions of corollary from this sheet. Today I want you to solve a question of implication from this same sheet. So I'm just going to show you a question from here. Then I think now you will actually come across the question of implication in one of the tests. So the 4 questions of implication we solved, asked in 2021, and then the rest of the 3 questions. Fine, and most of you got your answers correct. So let's take up another question from the logical family, and right. So in the test, you will come across a question of implication. Uh, let's move to the question number 3. But before that, I want to discuss with you keywords. In a sentence, if you look at some words, actually they control the meaning, right? And if you just change them with some other words, the meaning, there's a drastic change in the very implication of that sentence, in the meaning of that sentence. So these words that are important for the author and so for the reader, that should not be missed out. And they are related to various fields, various verticals. So for the ease of learning, I'm showing you, I'm going to divide these keywords into different fields. For example, if you come across any word, mostly in the options, that is of extreme notion, right? It is extreme. So the keywords that work as an indicator, I'm giving you this name so that you get the clarity. The indicators, they indicate something or the other. So such words that indicate a kind of extremism, a kind of going over the top, right? The kind of words that go for complete generalization. We will discuss the extreme words here. So extreme words, a very important piece of information for extreme word is, that will be very handy for you. If you come across an extreme word in an option, the higher chances are that option will be incorrect, right? So any statement which has an extreme word, there are greater chances of that option to be incorrect, because generally, the examiner has written it. So what he goes for, he actually, author, if has mentioned something in a balanced way, and in a rational and logical way, the examiner will simply exaggerate that. So this exaggeration to an extent of extremism, right, will be done by these terms, by these indicators. Extreme terms can be divided into two forms. A, we can discuss the general extreme words. General words means that in all cases they represent a very extreme sense. B, we can discuss the words that are contextual. So the contextual extremism and the general extremism. Let me now discuss A, the general extreme terms here. You know that all such words that represent 0% or 100%, it means everything is included 100% and nothing is there at 0%. So if you have this kind of situation, 0% or 100%, if you compare language with mathematics, in mathematics we have the precision, the accuracy. So if there is a number 3 and there's another number 3.0003, they both are not equal, right? So maths is all about the accuracy, exactness, precision, whereas the language has some sense, right? Some sense, like when you are going to borrow a bike from your friend and he asks you that when will you return it, you say after some time. But this sum does not have any specific numerical value. However, it depends on the context and you understand what does it mean and how much time he means, if you know the person. Like for some person, some time may be 30 minutes, and for some others, it may be like maybe half a day. So the general extreme terms are those that are clear cut telling you either the 0% like mathematics or 100%. The words like none, never, no one, they give you 0%. Whereas 100%, if for amount all is used, for frequency always is used, for capacity full or complete or entire or always, or similarly if you have the word like invariably. Invariably means always like the same way, without any variation. So absolute, right? So these are the words that convey the sense of 100% and they are general extreme terms. If they appear in a statement in an option, chances are that option will be wrong. But I am only saying chances. I am not saying always the option will be incorrect. So you have to cross check on the basis of the passage. Never just go by this rule ki if they appear it means that they are wrong. I am not saying that. It depends on the context. If the author himself has written something of some extreme nature, of some extreme value, then of course that option can be accommodated, can be chosen, such an option that contains extreme terms. However, in some cases, these words may be present there, the extreme words, yet the answer is correct. But most often, that answer will be incorrect if it contains extreme words. Well, the reason is very simple to be comprehended. You know that the authors of these CSAT passages, the passages are taken from different sources, from some reports, from some standard books. So the author is who is generally an expert, a scholar, an academician, or maybe a doyen of any field. So generally they write it in a balanced manner. They do not go over the top and extreme notions. They do not use quite often. Hence, such word terms, if they are present in the options, there are higher chances that those options will be incorrect. So general extreme terms is clear to everyone, that represents 0% or 100%. I have written here some good many example. However, if you come across another word that may not have been written, but if you since you know the language, you can identify that's whether that word is an extreme term or not. So the idea is not to write down a complete repository of these words, but idea is just to give you the notion, the sense, and then you can understand on your own. Let me now take the B part, contextual extreme terms. Contextual extreme terms means in the passage the author has written something about that, but the examiner goes for exaggeration. So in that context, something has been increased. For example, quite often UPSC use these words essential, and mostly the essential terms are wrong. Essential means it becomes a must, without it cannot be done. Similarly, the word must, there is a word indispensable, if there is a word prerequisite, or the word is compulsory, necessary, or you come across a word like only, solely, or if you come across any superlative degree, of adjective or adverb. For example, words like best, most, least, etc. Then they use quite often words like great or greatly. Suppose the author says that Indian economy to some extent depends on agricultural sector. Suppose author is saying to some extent it depends on. The statement that says the Indian economy greatly depends on agriculture, of course, will be wrong. So the word greatly is used to enhance, to go for exaggeration. So greatly, and then in CSAT this word main or mainly has also been quite often used. Similarly, they say heavy or heavily. So contextual extreme words. Very handy, very helpful in the sense for quick evaluation, and the moment you come across a statement containing either these contextual extreme words or general extreme words, your senses must perk up and you must doubt, cross check from the passage. Most often it will be incorrect. During the practice in the classroom, you will come across these situations, n number of times, so obviously it will boost your confidence, right? So the first type of keywords, extreme indicators, we have discussed, and that will be very helpful. So I should now move to the second type. Keywords of second type. Second type, such words that are used to put a condition. होता है ना condition, everybody knows, शर्त जब आप रखते हैं किसी चीज में कि ये है ऐसा तो ऐसा होगा, ऐसा नहीं है तो बिल्कुल ऐसा नहीं होगा. Like when you say that if it happens then something will take place, right? If you say that on the condition that, so there are too many words and phrases used to put condition. Words like if, when. For example, you say that I will return your notebook when you return mine. So there you have put a condition. So if, when, only, and sometimes a combination of these words like only if or only when. Then from the language, there are different phrases like provided that, given that, so long as long as, on no account, India will accede to the demands of China. So there is a very strong condition put here, right? So etc. These are the words used quite often. In the paragraph, when you come across these terms, since they have a certain binding force on the outcome, on the effect part, so obviously, some questions may be framed from that part where the condition has been put. So always you should look at the, the author, that conditional word that he has used, and what is its implication, what is the meanings of that word. So I just cite an example to you, right? I hope you will be able to evaluate it properly. I take this commonly used word if. So if I say if she winks, he jumps out of the window. If she winks, he jumps out of the window. What is the condition here? The condition part is this. This is the condition, or this is the cause for the person to jump out of the window. I suppose everybody knows winks, right? When you, through your eyes, you make a gesture, that's winks. So if she winks, he jumps out of the window, right? This is the implication part, the effect part. So if I say this is the cause and this is the effect part. Now, the question I'm giving you, and you have to tell me whether the given premise, whether the given, premise means the given piece of information, the fact that has been shared with you, whether that is sufficient to conclude. After the arrow, I will write the conclusion. So suppose you are told that the person, that there was no winking. I am not writing the whole sentence, but I suppose the sense is clear to you. There is no winking, and she did not wink. She did not wink. This piece of information has been given to you. This is the premise. On this basis, you have to conclude. After the arrow, I am writing the conclusion, and you have to say that whether the conclusion is valid or not valid. There is no winking. Can you say that there is no jumping? In a proper way, if I in expanded form अगर मैं बोलूँ दोनों का तो ये होगा कि she did not wink. This is given to you. This information has been given. She did not wink. Can you conclude he must not have jumped out of the window? Just like it is given that if she winks, so if you are given the information that she winked, you are sure that yes, he must have jumped out of the window because in the statement it is given there. However, if you are told that she did not wink, can you be sure to say that he must not have jumped out of the window? So I have written the shorter version, no jumping. Please you write your answer quickly. It is yes or no, right or wrong. कुछ भी लिख लीजिए, R or W, right or wrong, or yes or no. So no winking, and then we conclude no jumping. Waiting for your response. Everything depends that how well you have evaluated the conditional word if and its binding force on the outcome. Yes. Very smart students. All of you have given, I mean only 3 answers I have got and all of you have given the correct answer. No, no, wrong, yes. It's wrong. So there's one student, a couple of students are now saying yes and right. I will not ask you for the explanation because it's going to take time. Let me just tell you that of course it is not correct. It may be or may not be. It cannot be in a certain way. So, how it is so? I mean, let me analyze. If she winks, yes, he jumps out of the window. So, the moment you are given information that she winked, we can conclude that he must have jumped as per the sentence. But the reverse of that, if there is no winking, how can we be sure that there is no jumping, right? If you go for this, all those students who have chosen this one as the right statement, as the right conclusion, they have assumed one thing. What they have assumed that for this person, he, जिसके लिए मैंने लिखा है, for this person to jump out of the window, only winking, winking is the only reason. There is no other reason, there is no other cause for this person. However, that is incorrect. Because the word, limitation of the word if is that if is not equal to only if. Now it is clear? Had only if been used in place of if, the answer would have been correct. However, it is only if. ये सिर्फ if लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पर, no? Not only if. It means there could be other reasons also for the person to jump out of the window. Yani we cannot deny the possibility of other reasons for this person to jump out of the window. Winking is one reason, her winking is one reason, however there could be other reasons as well. We cannot deny the possibility, right? How many reasons are there? We cannot just judge that as well because of the lack of data. So the meaning of the word and limitation of the if is that it does not rule out the possibility of other causes for him to jump out of the window. Hence, this will be incorrect. So, let me just put it in a simple term if somebody has not understood. Let me just put it through a diagram. Let's say that this person jump, the jump takes place and it is caused by winking, her winking, right? The arrow is towards this side, so winking causes jumping, right? The jump. The word is, conditional word is if here. It means there could be other cause also, we can't deny. Let's say that the other cause may be X, Y, Z. So, if there is no winking, this cause does not take place, how are you sure that there is no effect? The effect must not have any, no jumping. Because the jumping is also possible because of X, Y, Z. So, whether X, Y, Z occurred or not, no information on that. It is only one of the causes mentioned here that it did not happen. So, we cannot be sure that the effect has not happened. The jumping, the effect may also happen if X, Y, Z occurs. So, that's the reason this statement was incorrect. That no winking means no jumping. It is incorrect. It is only a possibility. Maybe there is no jumping, maybe there is a jumping, because we don't have the sufficient data. As I said, if is the word that has been used here. All right. Okay, now let me give you another option. The first one is clear. Most of the students got it correct. They said ki yes, it is wrong. A couple of students chose yes. So be careful now. The diagram is there, right? So there is a clarity. If I write another option over here, so I'm going to write option number 2 for you. Another case. Same way. The premise is that there is jumping. This person jumped. Yes, the person, he jumped out of the window. Can you be sure that she must have winged? So I'm only writing winged. She must have winged is the elaborated version. So you are only told this piece, this premise, that he has jumped out of the window. On this basis, you have to conclude whether she must have winged, right? So are you sure that she must have winged? So again, you write your answer for the second option as right or wrong. You are supposed to write R or W. Quickly, I'm waiting for your answer for the second one. The diagram is there, so all the students who committed error earlier are supposed to mend their ways, learn from this diagram, and then make a properly thought out, well informed, decision about the given statement. If and only if अभी बाद में डिस्कस कर लेंगे, पहले आप इसका आंसर करिए. Yes. Pami, you have said it is right. And yes, almost all the students have said it is wrong. Good. Yes. I'm using a very certain language. When I said that he has jumped out of the window, on this basis you are supposed to conclude that she must have winged. Obviously, the correct answer is that it is again wrong, because we do not know. It is wrong because if you look at this, you are told that he jumped, and the effect took place. How are you sure that only this cause must have happened? Who knows that he might have jumped or must have jumped on the basis of the occurrence of XYZ? So when two possible causes are there for an effect to take place, you are only told that the effect has taken place. How are you sure that which one of the causes must have occurred? You are not sure. You don't have data. There is only a possibility that either it is winking or it might be XYZ. So since we are suspended in this probability, we cannot choose any certain option here. So that's the reason the second is again wrong. Pami, I suppose it's clear to you? Yes? Okay. Let me write a third statement. Any student who has got it wrong must have got it now, must have understood it, that the effect occurred, you don't know that because of which cause it must have occurred. Either of the causes must have occurred. Either of the causes, any winking or XYZ, must have occurred for this effect to take place. However, we are not sure that which one. That's the reason second is wrong. Now, if you are told that in fact there is no jumping, he has not jumped out of the window. On this basis, you have to conclude, after the arrow I am writing the conclusion, that there is no winking. He did not jump out of the window, leading to the conclusion that she must not have winked. Is it valid, right or wrong? Right and wrong. Please write your answer for the third one. I'm waiting for your reply. Okay. So there are 4-5 aspirants who are saying it is wrong. Rest of you have said it is right. Oh no, 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 more wrong is coming now. Okay, the wrong ones are in majority. क्या आपको आदत लग गई क्या हर आंसर को wrong कहने की? Just because the previous two were wrong, you are again saying it's wrong. You see now, now the premise is given is that there is no jumping, leading to the conclusion that there is no winking. The original statement tells you that if she winks, he jumps out of the window, right? And there is no jumping, it means this effect did not take place. The effect did not take place, I put a cross on it. And when this effect takes place, when either of the causes take place, like either she winks or maybe XYZ that we have imagined just because of the limitation of the word if, right? There may be a number of other causes also. However, I have used one as a symbol here. So, when the effect itself did not take place and the effect would have taken place if either of the causes had taken place, then obviously you know that when the effect did not take place, it means we can infer or we can conclude that neither of the causes took place. Because if occurrence of winking or XYZ must have caused jumping. But since the jumping itself did not take place, it means neither of the causes must have taken place. Hence, this statement is absolutely correct. No jumping means no winking. We are sure of this. No jumping leading to no winking. And here a certain word does not make it incorrect. If you are told that he did not jump, we can conclude she must not have winked. Yes, absolutely correct. Even the must is acceptable here. So now I tell you, so do you realize the use of this word if, a conditional word, and the question can be framed and the various implications are there. Now, having discussed this, though I must share one piece of information here. UPSC in fact has asked the question of based on a statement, a logical question on the same pattern where the if part has been used and then cause and effects are mentioned, implications are mentioned. So let me put this formula, let me give you a formula for this. You know, one thing is that in the exam hall, you can either apply, you analyze and then you get the correct answer, or you just, the part of your analysis like you go for the visual also, like the way I have mentioned here, the effect and the cause, and then the possibility of other cause. There is a third possibility that you just know the formula. So if you come across a sentence which is based on this structure, if X, then Y. Right? This given statement was based on this structure, if X, then Y. In such case, if you are given that Y occurred leading to the X occurrence of X, यानी X is the conclusion on the basis of the occurrence of Y. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया था ना कि if she winks, he jumps out of the window, and you are told that he jumped out of the window, but you cannot be sure whether it happened because of her winking or maybe X, Y, Z. So same here, if Y is given to you leading to X, it will always be wrong. So don't choose an option which is based on this reverse thing. X leading to Y, that's given, but Y leading to X, that's only a possibility. Maybe or may not be, hence wrong. Second thing, if you are given that denial of X, X naught, X naught means you have been told that, like the original statement was if she winks. So you are told that she did not wink. On this basis, they will write an option like Y not, yani denial of Y. Ki she did not wink means he must not have jumped out of the window. But again, that is wrong, because you know that he might have jumped because if the other causes occurred, like X, Y, Z I mentioned earlier. So this statement will again be wrong. However, if you are given this statement, an option that is based on this structure, Y not, negation of Y, yani there is no jumping, he did not jump, it will lead to you, and you can choose the option that is leading to X naught. So there is no jumping, he did not jump out of the window, leading to the conclusion that she must not have winked. So this will always be right or correct. So if you remember the formula, you can get your answer very quickly. The first one is wrong, second one is wrong, third one is correct, right? Because in the first one and second one, there is only a possibility. If the conclusion is written with certainty, of course that will be incorrect. So what I am saying here, I tell you with this example. Suppose you are saying, you are told that he did not wink. He did not wink, and then here the conclusion is written on this basis that she might, no winking. I mean, she did not wink, and the conclusion is written, he might not have jumped. He might not have jumped, since it talks about a possibility, so you can consider that as a correct. However, if it is written that he must not have jumped, that will be incorrect because you don't have data. There's only a possibility, right? So I hope it is clear to all of you. So if X and then Y. Anyway, the discussion was related to the conditional terms and their usage. Now a student asked me if and only if. Suppose for the same example, if she winks, he jumps out of the window. Instead of if I write here only if, yeah, if and only if. So if I say that he jumps out of the window, if and only if she winks, it means that this particular diagram will be incorrect. The diagram is this diagram. When you are given that when you are given the answer, that he jumped out of the window, he jumps out of the window if and only if she winks. So her winking is the only cause for him to jump out of the window. There is no other cause. Hence, this possibility of the second cause is completely ruled out, right? And now we have this kind of diagram when we use the expression if and only if. Yeah, if, only if. or only if. He jumps out of the window, uh, only if she winks. Yeah, if and only if. In that case, with only word, you get the clarity that it is the only cause. So there is no possibility of X, Y, Z. Hence, the implications from the statements will also change. So for this new statement that she winks, he jumps out of the window if and only if she winks. For that, no winking means no jumping. Yes, because this is the only cause. Earlier it was a possibility, so it was wrong, but now there is a certainty. So you can choose the first will be correct, the second will be correct, the third will be correct. Now because of the change of the conditional term phrase that I said earlier, they have a binding force. Now अगर आप ये नया word use करते हैं if and only if, then of course the answers are, all the statements are correct. Anyway, so I have discussed with you two types of keywords, conditional keywords and extreme keywords. Similarly, you must know the third type of keywords and always pay attention when you are reading a passage and you come across such terms, such indicators that give you the notion of contradiction, right? Words like but, yet, however, although, though, despite, in spite of, nonetheless, nevertheless, notwithstanding, there is a word albeit, A-L-B-E-I-T. There is a word paradox. Another word is anomaly. Then some of the phrases are also used for contradiction. For example, on the contrary, we use another, pairing, linking words like on one hand, on the other hand. For contradictions, at times this is used. On one hand, on the other hand, just opposite to. This is another phrase used. So contradiction words or phrases used by the author in the paragraph again play an important role. Okay, and one must pay attention to that. Now, similarly, number 4, conclusion indicators, right? Conclusion indicators, because most of the passages are like in an argument form, and you must have fair idea about the conclusion, the main point that author is trying to establish on the basis of the given premises or evidences. So conclusion indicators like you all know, so, therefore, hence, thus, and then some phrases are used. For example, in a nutshell, it follows, from, it can be summed up, or some of the adverbs like clearly, finally, eventually, etc. So these are the conclusion indicators. Number 5, there are some connotation indicators, very important for all reading comprehension students. Connotation indicators. So first of all, you must know that what connotation is. You know, the words have a literal meaning, a dictionary meaning. So if you go for, you know, a meaning of a word in the dictionary, you find its literal sense, literal meaning. Along with that, the words also have a connotational sense. It means an added inbuilt sense. So which gives the word an additional, you know, piece of information along with that. So you must have observed in the in the dictionary with the meaning of the word sometimes. Let's say that it's an adjective, disapproving or approving, formal, slang, parliamentary, unparliamentary. These are the additional information written in the dictionary. This is called connotational sense. You know, the connotational sense, the word meaning is same. However, in what kind of scenario it should be used, what is the inbuilt sense that it gives you. I generally use this example, and everybody knows this much of Hindi, I believe. Yeah? So West Bengal में भी ये सबको पता होगा इतना. एक वर्ड है इंग्लिश में, जैसे आप कहते हैं ओल्ड पर्सन और एल्डरली, उसका हिंदी वर्जन, हिंदी मीनिंग है वृद्ध व्यक्ति, बुजुर्ग या बूढ़ा. तो बूढ़ा, बुजुर्ग, वृद्ध, राइट, जो वृद्धावस्था को पहुंच गया, ये तो ठीक है, ये सब समझ इसमें. लेकिन एक और मीनिंग है एल्डरली का, वो है बुढ़ा. But you know that there is a connotational sense attached with Buddha, that it is slang, it is actually, you know, contemptible in its use. So in a formal occasion, you don't use it. So that is called a connotation, right? So connotation sense. So examiner, the author, if writes something by using the connotation terms, the reader is supposed to understand its meaning in the right perspective. Otherwise, he will miss out something crucial, right? So आपका comprehension affected होगा. So what are such words? For example, a word is few, F-E-W. You all know that for numbers we use few, मतलब कुछ होता है. There's a word little. For amount or uncountable nouns, we use little. Just like for countable, we use few. We use for amount or countable, liquid and gas, we use little. And for other such nouns. Then there is a word when we add article with few, it is called a few or a little. There is a big difference between the two. When you use few without article or little without article, that gives a negative sense. Negative means sense of negligible. Something in comparison to something else so small that according to the attitude of the author, it is negligible. Right? So if the author says that little authority in a dictatorship, little authority is given to to others, it means, it does not mean कि कुछ authority दी जाती. It means it is so small that it is so minuscule that it is negligible. So that is the point you need to keep in mind. So little, and whereas a few and a little gives a positive sense. It means there is something, right? So if somebody wants to borrow some money from you, and the person says that he expresses his desire, and you say, I'm sorry, I have little money. It does not mean that you have zero money. It means you are not completely broken, but it means that you don't have sufficient money to lend him. So in comparison to something, when you use this word little, it conveys the negative sense. But if there is another friend who wants to help him and he says, yes, I have a little money, I can help you. It means not much, however, you know, can be managed. So they give the positive sense, few and little, in comparison to something so small that it is negligible. There are other words we use for frequency like seldom. It gives, again, very rarely towards, a negative kind of sense it gives. It's not like never. Never is exactly zero. Seldom is not zero, but it tends to be that, towards that. to be a 0. Similarly, we have the words like hardly, scarcely, merely, or barely, etc. So these words you must pay attention to and understand the meaning in the right perspective. Alright, so we have discussed 5 type of indicators: connotation, conclusion, contradiction, and extreme words. Now the last one, yes, we started with extreme and then condition. In condition, I gave you the example of if and only if. Then contradictions. If they come across you come across in the passage, pay attention to the contradiction words. Something important to the argument must be mentioned there. Conclusion indicators and connotation indicators, right? Okay, Visvajis, I was coming to that point. I have discussed few and little, a few and a little. Then these words are also used with another article, the, the. When we come across the few or the little, it has another meaning, another sense it gives. So yes, it is also connotational, Biswajit. For example, when you use the little or the few, you want to convey that all that there was, whatever there was, something happened to that. So go back to that example. When somebody wants to borrow money from you and you were not willing, or you didn't have sufficient money, you said, I'm sorry, I have little money. Another friend who said, yes, I have a little money and I can help you. So he lent that money to this person, and let's say that the next person, this person who borrowed the money, he comes with a long face. You ask him what happened. He says, he says the little money that I borrowed from you has been stolen. It means whatever money, all the money has been stolen. So the little money that I borrowed from you has been stolen. Is that clear? Similarly, always pay attention to those terms that where the author conveys the sense of possibility, probability, likelihood. Just like this negative and positive, yani negligible and minuscule connotation you get. Similarly, you should pay attention to the words like seem, appear, likely, may, might, could, right? These words also play an important role. Perhaps, possible, right? So may, might, could, likely, perhaps, possible, probable, they can appear, seem, they looks like, they give this notion that there is a possibility. There's no certainty, and you need to be careful when you read them. Okay, the last point, number 6. As I have been repeatedly saying this, that premise are those, or premise are those facts used by an author to establish his main point. Like when you give the reason for something. For example, if you say that, sir, I could not attend yesterday's class because I was not well. So not being well is the premise, is the reason that you are giving, that you put forward to establish your point. That the reason that you use, that's a premise indicator. So there are, for premise indicators, you have the words like since, because, for, as, that's why, the reason being, the reason is, or the reason being, and you give the reasons after these words. So these are these keywords a good or sensitive reader will always pay attention to, because the author, as I have been saying repeatedly, that actually the problem is that when you are listening, you are watching me, You look at my body language, my gestures and postures, my modulation of voice when I want to stretch a word, emphasize on a word, high pitch, low pitch, all these things are helpful along with the words that I'm saying. So there is a combination of verbal and non-verbal, both you are getting. But when an author has written, the only textual information you have, the only words you have. So what he has done, of course, he will use the, the keywords, and they will work as a signage for you. You will get to know what he wants to emphasize, what he wants to convey, what is the underlying current, right? So all the transitions, all the keywords, the topic sentence, focus sentence, the purpose was just to enrich you and enable you to actually attain that level of comprehension skill which is required by UPSC. All right, folks, so we have done the one basic reading skill tool, that is keyword, that was pending, and the two types of question, implication and corollary. Now, we have reached to this time, 1 p.m. it is now. So see you post after the break, post lunch, and then we'll start another logical question. From a new logical question we'll start then. Thank you so much.